Welcome. This is going to level up your Power BI skills. What we're going to dive into is a problem that many Power BI developers face. And as you ramp up your abilities, you need to know how to solve this problem. So let's look at what typically goes on. Here we have an example of a multiple chart dashboard. It's super basic. This is going to be used for an explanation, but it's a problem that we face. We have three measures: returned, sold, net sales, as well as we have multiple categories. We want to analyze it by gender, category, platform. So what people do initially is create multiple charts to do this. You can get something like this that we're looking at that has just a plethora of charts. Well, this is a Power BI 101 kind of solution. So we're going to level up. We're going to take it to unlocking field parameters. Here's what that looks like. What we're going to be able to do is combine all these charts into one. We're going to first enable a dynamic x-axis and a dynamic measure selection. People can pick whatever they want. It's going to come into the chart. You need to know this skill. Then after that, we're going to kick it up one more notch. We're going to go into multiple, so nested and grouped categories as multiple measures as well. Then we can even go to a third category of a multi-generational x-axis, y-axis, line, the whole deal. So you need to know this information. You've got to know how to do this to upskill your Power BI. So let's dive into it. Let's go right now. Here we go. All right, so here we are inside of Power BI. Firstly, in the description of this YouTube video, you can go to GitHub and download this file and follow along. It's going to be very helpful for you to actually go through these processes, looking at this same data to build and go through these examples. Again, you're going to level up. You're going to get better by going through this. You're going to solve problems in a more advanced way, making you more valuable. So what does that look like? In this file, here's an overview of what we're dealing with. We're going to have the issue, which is on this page right here. It's going to break down an example of when we want to report multiple things. So left to right, we have category, we have gender, we have age, different x-axes. Then we have three different measures. We have sold, returned, net sales, and they all have this applicable color to them. So typically people build lots of charts and you have it, and then people can click and interact and you kind of see some things happen there. Well, you're going to get leveled up because what we're going to go through is three different solutions and you can follow along. So the goal is you open this up and you can build. So we're going to go through and build these things. And what they're going to do again is you're going to enable a dynamic measure where we're changing the sold, the return, the net sales, the color changes, age, category, gender. It's all happening interactively. Then you can format and fit it on the page as you want. Tons more space, way more abilities here. So this is going to be upskilling. So let's go ahead and dive into it. All right. The main concept we're going to understand is field parameters. And I'm going to show you how to do this right now. So again, we have really three things to consider. Without having to understand too much about the data model, we're essentially going to have sales that's going to be aggregated by product, store, customer over time. It can be anything in your model. You can have a plethora of any selection, but the goal is multiple measures, multiple categories. So in our data model on the top right-hand side, you'll see that really under sales, we're going to be focusing on sold, net sales, and returned right here. These three categories will be the calculations, and then there's going to be multiple categories of if we come down here, if I can collapse this, we'll have product. So we'll have the product will have a category. The product will also have customers, and those customers will have genders and ages. So here's how you're going to analyze this stuff and chop it up. Let's go to solution A. So first, let's look at what it's doing. We're going to make sure we grasp this, then we're going to build it. So we have on the bottom a dimension selection area. So the x-axis is going to change. Age, that just changed. Category, gender, or even store region. I added another one because you have so much space, you have way more to work with. And now I'm going to analyze the colors. So it's going to be sold, or the measures, sold and returned net sales by any of these things here. How do you build this? All right, and we also have the dynamic color, so we'll set that up here too. Well, let's go ahead and start. And the key thing is we're going to be focusing on a field parameter. So what we can do first is just build our basic chart. So to do that, these are going to be like temporary placeholders. So step one is pick any of the random properties we discussed. So in this case, I'm going to pick sales, and I'll pick net sales. And then I'm going to pick, we'll come to say customer, and I'll pick age. And we're going to just make this first chart here. Again, the goal is placeholders. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to show you. All right. So we have our first basic chart. Well, we need to figure out how to change these axes both to do what we need to do. So to do that, the key thing is under modeling, new parameter, fields. All right. So now we're going to essentially create a parameter that's going to pick different fields from our model. So on the left-hand side, we're picking different calculations. This field parameter allows you to pick different things. So what is that again? Well, let's just check it out. So we're going to go into customer. We're going to want to pick from age. I do alphabetical listing. Product, we want to pick category. And then we also want to get gender. And we're going to call this, for the sake of this demo, we'll call it Z underscore fields parameter 2. We'll call it chart 1. Create this. All right, now check that out. It just added it to our page. And we're going to want to put this at the bottom, but let's talk about what it's doing here. So nothing's happening yet, but I can pick age, category, gender. And I think this one even had store region, so we'll show you how to update it here too. All right, so what this is doing is literally picking a field. So if we come into now our net sales, the first fundamental chart we built, and we're going to say over here on the right-hand side, well, the x-axis is currently picking age. We're going to change that by removing it, and we're going to put in our new field parameter, Z field parameter chart 1, put it in the x-axis. Now check this out. This can start to unlock so many possibilities. We just took that category, we added it there. Now as we pick an age or category or gender, it's changing that field. So some ways we want to start to lay this thing out is to make these filters feel like they're integrated into the visual. So to do that, we can switch this up to the new slicer, and we'll do some quick formatting here. When you have this new slicer, we'll drag it left to right. It's just starting to look better. Again, I have a whole video on slicers. Check this video out at the top. It's going to go an hour into how to format these slicers and really dive into it. So we won't focus on the formatting as much in this video because you can get it from this other video here. But we do focus on the functionality for this one. So at a quick level, we can change the title of this, and we'll just call it dimension selection. It's hovering over that. It's kind of popping up. Cool. I spelled it wrong. Dimension selection. Bingo. And let's add another one. So an important way to look at this is it's actually logic. So you can see the way that this works in the top right hand corner. I'll zoom in. I'm clicking this. We need to understand how the field parameters work. So it's going to be first the label, or the way it's going to be represented, and then what it is, and then the order 0, 1, 2. So let's add a new one. We'll add store region. I'll just copy this whole logic here, hit return, and paste it, and we'll make another one called store region. And the name of, we're going to come over to this, and we're going to change it to, I want to do store goals store region, and we'll put this in the third spot. Hit enter, and look at that. We just created a new one. It's that easy. And now we have store region, a whole other x-axis. So let's do some really basic formatting again on this filter. So what we're going to want to do is have the slicer layout to be a single row, just like that. And we did some basic formatting of, we'll do this one time and then it will remain. What I mean by that is we'll come up to the title and we'll change the background color of this to be black and the text color to be white. And we'll make the font a little bit smaller. Make it bold as well. And now we're starting to see we have this dimension selection happening here. So what we've just effectively done is created a dynamic x-axis or x-axis, yes. Category, and you can see the title actually changes as well. Gender, store region, category, age. That is cool. All right, so how do we change now the parameters? Or I'm sorry, not the parameters, but the measure, the values that are happening. So let's also change this title really quick here of the chart itself. And we're going to keep the text as it is because it's dynamic. It's going to change as well. So we'll make this background color. We'll center this. We'll make it bold, maybe a little bit smaller. Okay, cool. So let's create the same process, but now using our measure selections. So to do that, we're going to go to modeling, new parameter, fields. We're going to have our calculations. We're going to want to analyze our sales by sold, by returned, and then net sales. We'll call this Z underscore field parameter 2 chart 1 measures. Oops, and you can see I missed one of them. So we're going to take off sales. We're going to add sold, returned, net sales. Check that out. Boom, create it. And now you can guess it. It's the same concept. So if we come back to this table, now we have the table and we're going to change the y-axis to not be net sales. But we're going to have our new measure that we've created here. Cool. So what's happening? So if we come up to this, we're going to pick one of them. And what we need to do is ensure that one's selected. And so as we change sold, returned, net sales, you can now see, if I close this out, that the title is actually changing. Net sales, it's returned, and it's sold. So let's do the same formatting. And what you can do is we've done it once. You can copy this format painter or just click it. We'll format this painter the same way. We'll do it one more time. Didn't come through. Format painter. Oh, it's not the same visual. So again, we have to change this to the new card slicer. Cool. We're going to change the layout to be a single column. And look at that. Look at that. All right. So let's change the title of this. We'll call it measure selection. Title. Measure selection. Boom. Look at this. It is coming together. So as we have now our measure selection on the left-hand side, again, these slicers, there's a lot of formatting options. You can get into here. There's a whole video on how to do it, but let's just make maybe some basic updates where we'll say the callout values. Let's make them bigger. They're kind of small. We have lots of space to work with. We'll make this one the same. And we'll make them both 17 just to keep it uniform. And now we have the selectable measure and the selectable category. So left to right, we're changing that. Up to down. Remember, our first problem was we had to create all these charts, but also we want sold to be a certain color. We want return to be a certain color. We want net sales to be a certain color. So we need to incorporate that now. We're going to kick it up just another level here. So what we can do is set up conditional formatting. There's going to be a couple of different things that we're going to set up here, actually. So what you'll notice is you can create a measure color. And there's many ways you can kind of solve this or set it up, but I created this right here. And what this measure color is saying is essentially a switch statement. And a switch just says, if this value, then do this value here. So what I'm saying is we'll create this now too, we'll switch it up. But we're going to say from our measure list, if it equals sold, then I want this color. If it's returned, I want this color, and you can kind of just keep going. So I'm going to copy this. And you can look at it if you're curious kind of in this table view. It's a good way to analyze what you're doing. So we have our measures here. I'm going to go new column, and I'll paste what I just was talking about. Of course, it's not going to work. We need to reprogram it. So I'm going to do Z to, we're going to pick this field right here, chart one measures. And I just have to pick it. There's 3 to choose from. So this is chart one measure fields. This is chart one measure order. This is chart one measures. Just like that. I'll copy this. I'll put it here 3 times. And so again, we just picked this column. If this column equals this value, then return this color. And you can see, boom, it works. So now in the table, we have a value for the measure. And what we can do, again, these are colors I picked, a purple, a red, and a green. Now what you do is you come to your chart, and we're going to go to the columns. In this color, we don't want everything to be green. We're going to change it. So we're going to go to this conditional formatting. We're going to create a rule, and we're going to say we're actually going to make a field value. And we're going to say get from our table, chart one measures, get the measure color. Okay. And look at that. Look at how that did it. Sold, returned, net sales. Now you've just created, in 15 minutes, a solution to level up, to go from having to create multiple charts to creating one chart that can be sliced multiple ways and with multiple colors. Good job. Now let's think about how to level that up even more. And what you can do is we're going to go now to solution B. So solution B, it's going to be nearly the same thing, but slightly different. What this is going to be now is the report is actually going to be a clustered column chart. When you can see this one over here was a clustered column chart as well, but it could have been a stacked one. It could be either one. But what's different is now we just think about how we're going to unlock these even more by having them stacked or multiple measures. Because what you can do, another good practice over here, is you can see it's just picking one at a time. It's intentionally every filter is picking one. We can't have too many things to mess this thing up. But now with this, we're going to want to have more. So let's start simply. If I say net sales, I'm going to pick one category. I'll say by age. Okay, but now because I've enabled it for a more complex analysis, maybe I want to see, okay, well, by age, how about per gender under that age? I'll click this now, and we'll enable this drill down like this. And now we can see age, 15 to 20, 21, and then the breakdown per gender within that. We can do it the flip way as well with, say, gender and then maybe category, and turn on drill down. So there's going to be lots of new options to analyze data using this method. So to do it, what we can do is actually we'll just do some small tweaks. So what's a helpful thing is if you create something, just to kind of keep referencing it, and we will copy what we've created here. And we'll do that by clicking on it. We'll just hit Control C, Control V. Let's copy this as well. It's going to be very similar. We're just going to change a few things. We'll say don't sync. Syncing visuals will span it. I'm just copying this. Again, it's what we've already created. and move it over. It's always good to move things around, copy things around. So now we have our same visual down here at the bottom. We need to configure it a little bit differently. So what you can do, and what's important to understand with field parameters, is it can obtain more things as well. What I mean by that is if we're going to go to the filter, we'll go to the slicer settings, we'll turn single select off. To do that, we'll do show selection on. So we can do select all if we wanted to, but then also turn single select off, and we can do this off as well. So now I'm actually showing and clicking multiple things: sold, returned, and it's kind of continuing at the top where you'll see sold number, return number, net sales. Maybe I just pick sold, maybe I just pick returned. And now from within that, we can turn on the dimension selection to do the same thing. And we can do that by clicking it, going to slicer settings, turn off single select, and now we can have a category doing the same thing. We'll have gender, store, and we can click through it. But to make this work, we also need to turn on expand down one level. So now as we're expanding down a level, we can actually see that the chart functions as we expect, and you can enable this for your end users. So now you can analyze by office, again, by category, by multiple products, by return sold. You can add that legend. You can see what's happening here. So it's a whole nother level of unlocking the capabilities. Finally, if you want to get into it even further, you can start to do something like this, and you just keep adding to it. Because once you understand the concept of field parameters, the really great thing about it is you can see how you can use them to solve more than one problem. Because now, pretty much anything that ever has a value, it could be a legend, it could be a small multiple, you can set it up to change the chart by using a field parameter. So what this example is the same thing we've been doing, but I just blew it up even more. You know, I have way more things to select from on the left-hand side. Open the file, you can see what I'm talking about. Multiple units sold, units returned, dimension selection. It gets a little crazy if you click too many things or don't click enough. But now you can see category, gender, store, region. But what's additional is now I want to supplement it by saying I want to have a line axis on the right-hand side. And that will show us, you know, even more information that we can pick for units sold, units returned. We can see, okay, for Office 365, the mails, 6,000 returned, 11,000 sold. You can get a lot of information. So as we've gone through this now, this is going to be the backbone for field parameters. Again, you can use them to solve so many problems. They are critical for leveling up your Power BI skills. If you find yourself creating the same kind of chart with multiple measures, you should be looking to flip to something like this immediately, where you'll have a filter. And again, you can check out the other videos I've created about how to format these really well, to segment and analyze your data. So enjoy, leave a question, a comment. Thank you so much. I will talk to you later. Bye.